हम तो निडर हो गए, पवित्रता का बल मिला, हम तो अमर हो गए, पग पग पर देते हो प्रभु साथ मेरा, धन्यवाद तेरा प्रभु धन्य।
Om Shanti, Sister Jayanti, welcome to everyone. Welcome, Sister Jayanti. Today, we just want to take a minute and show a little video. It's just under 1 minute. And, well, I'll let it speak for itself. But it's a classic video, Jayanti Ben. And it's what Baba was mentioning in the Murli about slow and steady wins the race. That's the tortoise and the hare. And you can see the hare being distracted. There we go. The tortoise wins the race. And just one other thing, so that when you speak, Jayanti, we just want to show the picture of the dilruba. And actually, the dilruba is an instrument, as you had mentioned yesterday in your class in London. And actually, dilruba literally means that which ravishes or steals the heart. And so this is the instrument. It's played kind of standing. You would stand it in front of you and then play it with this bow. So that's just for everyone's information. Thank you, gentlemen.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing those two things, Arunaben. And yes, absolutely related to Baba's Murli yesterday. And I don't know how many times Baba remembered the beloved, specially loved children who are playing the song of love in their hearts and the song of praise of God in their hearts. And of course, when we do this, definitely Baba is very happy and very pleased. And Baba gives us the return of his love also. We sing praise of Baba, and Baba sings praise of his children. And those who conquer God's heart are the ones who also conquer the throne of the world. Baba said how if somebody claims the throne, then they claim the whole kingdom. And so Baba mentioned this beautiful expression, Maya Jite Jagat Jeet. And so having conquered God's heart throne, we're able to have the power to be able to conquer Maya and also conquer the world. It seems to be a lovely, lovely, simple way to be able to come to that state where we're able to have victory over all the things that are going on inside, and yet also receive the crown and the throne of the world. And so all you have to do is keep singing God's praise and keep saying, Baba, you are mine and I am yours. That's all you need to do. Isn't it simple? Isn't it easy? And it's such a lovely way to achieve everything that you hadn't even dreamt of. Who could have dreamt that you can conquer God's heart? Who could have thought that they could be a conqueror of the world? And nobody even thought about what Maya is or how to conquer Maya, but a very sweet and beautiful way that Baba expressed about the power of love, basically. And yes, if Baba's hearing this sweet sound coming, then of course Baba also enjoys it. But sometimes there are other sounds that also come. And what might those be? Sometimes it's complaints about ourselves, our weaknesses. I'm here telling Baba, Baba, I really want to do this, but I can't do this, I can't do that. No, not a very pleasurable sound, not a very pleasant sound. And so sometimes that's what we're doing. And sometimes ego creeps in and we're saying, Baba, I did this, Baba, I did that, Baba, I did the other. And so it's praise of ourselves. Whereas in fact, really, it's Baba who's doing it all. And so instead of singing my praise, can I sing Baba's praise? Because that truly is the reality. How could I have done anything? It was Baba who was doing whatever was needed. And so Baba shifting us away from both the weaknesses, the inferiority, but also the superiority. And these are the two big bugs of Maya that come. And sometimes we dance between the two, down and up and up and down. And Baba's saying, no, you stay steady and stable. Yes, you belong to God, and God is doing what you need to do. He's doing what he needs to do, and he's making sure you need to do what you need to do. So beautiful, beautiful message from Baba. And Baba saying that sometimes there can be people who are very skilled. They're skilled in the art of speaking. They're speaking with authority. They're very eloquent. And they're speaking many beautiful things, much better than you. And so if this is what people say about you, that you speak well and so, that's not what Baba really wants. Baba wants you to be able to connect other souls with him, so that when you speak, what you're saying makes people aware that it isn't you with your own authority that is speaking these things, but it's the versions of that highest authority of all. And what you're sharing is just being an instrument for sharing what has come from up above. And so when they say that, yes, now I can feel the presence of the divine, when they can feel the praise of God coming through and they're experiencing that, then you have brought them closer to Baba, not just closer to you. And so everything in terms of service, what is it all about? Baba saying, not just your words, but also your vision. What does your vision tell people? Is it filled with such spirituality that they experience themselves being drawn to God? Is your behavior such? Are your actions such that they can see through your actions the fact that the one who has explained the deep philosophy of karma is the one that they are coming close to through what you do? And so a few questions to ask myself. Are they coming closer to me, or are they coming closer to Baba? Are they experiencing God's praise, or is it something else that they're experiencing? And so Baba making us aware that lots of people have lots of different powers and skills, but you just have to step out of the way and let God do his work, because it's really time for them to get to know the Almighty Authority. If they don't get to know him now, when else is it going to be possible for them? If they're not connected with God, how can they ever attain salvation? But this is the time when, if revelation is to happen, and we know that it has to happen, then all of us have to be instruments to be able to reveal God through our behavior and activity and our words and our vision, so that whoever it is they're meeting, whoever it is they're seeing, they're able to see God's praise in real life, in action. And that will open the curtain of revelation. Baba's often said that you are the instruments to reveal God to the world. But today in this Murli, Baba's made it absolutely clear that only when we can do this, when the curtain parts and we're able to reveal Baba, only then can there be the path of salvation for all souls. Baba also explained in a very, very interesting way that this is the time when everybody has to claim whatever it is they choose to claim from God. And so some will choose to become deities, some will choose to become devotees, and whatever they choose, it's fine. But in both cases, on both scores, we have to be the ones who give. We are the children of the bestower, and so we carry the responsibility of giving, of bestowing, of sharing. Because if they're to become the deities, they should have experienced some attainment themselves, so that then they can be the ones who give. And yes, whatever role it is they play in the golden age is up to them. But in the first instance, we have to be instruments to give them something so that they attain something, they experience the benefit of coming to Baba. And then if they're to be the devotees in the future, that's their choice, and that's also fine. But they'll only become worshippers of the deities if those were to be the deities and now giving to them. Then they will remember them as being the ones who have given. Devta dene wale. And so whatever level, whether they're to become deities, whether they'd become bhagats, but the time for giving is this period now. And so it's so important to be able to give, and give continually. And Baba also mentioned how the kings of the golden age, silver age, but even to a certain extent in the copper age, have been remembered as the ones who sustain the mother and father. And so how can you become those kings without giving to everyone and sustaining them today? Golden age, silver age, nobody will need sustenance. The story of the cycle continues, that whatever I've taken now, I'll be able to give and share from the copper age onwards. But the mother and father, the sustainers, the emperors and empresses of the golden age, that role of giving actually begins today. And so on any level, Baba reminding us that we really have to be the ones who learn to give. And Baba also then very happy to see all the beloved children, all the ones who are the lovers of God, come together in Madhuban. It must have been a big gathering of maybe 700-800 people from abroad. At that time, I imagine that's the number. Om Shanti Bhavan would have been absolutely full with others from Bharat also, but especially the double foreigners. And Baba's asking us a question. Are you ready to share? It's now a bigger family, and already night and day have become equal. We've turned the night into the day. Baba would spend the whole night with us. And so Baba reminding us, well, it's now time to share, including sharing your time. And so where Baba would give a lot of time to individuals, now Baba was making us aware that he's not going to be able to give so much time to individuals. And of course, I remember some scenes where somebody would cry and say, oh, but Baba gave so much time to this one. Baba didn't give me so much time. And of course, on the one side, my heart went out to them, but on the other side, I would remind them that each word from Baba is a blessing. And so Baba saying even 2 words from God are really, truly an amazing blessing. If Baba says, keep flying, it's a blessing. And so keep flying, experience that stage, and don't ever, ever compare yourself to another. This one had more time than me, or anything like that, because Baba said that the love isn't being divided, time is being divided, but the love isn't being divided. The love is the same for each and every one. And Baba is ready to give love to all. Can the ocean of love ever dry out? And so there's so much love. Just keep taking as much love as you wish from God. And if somebody says to you, Baba loves me more than he loves you, you can smile back at them and say, well, I think Baba loves me a lot also. Or you can even say, Baba loves me more. And so that's pure pride. And Baba allows that because it's important to just maintain your dignity, your stage, and not think about what else is going on for anyone else at that moment. Let me remember the blessings I have had from Baba, then I'm not distracted by what anyone else is saying. And of course, Baba, remember the story of the one who seems to be going very fast, but gets tired. And in this case, it was distracted, but literally gets tired and so stops making effort. And the other one who's been slow and steady, they keep moving. And maybe it appeared that they were going last, but they're actually going to go fast and become first. And yes, Brahma Baba has that fixed role of being the number one, but God's love is for everyone. And so you can still be part of the first division. And very interesting point, Baba saying that, but the results are not yet out. And so how can you decide I'm last or I'm here or I'm there? Just have that faith in yourself and do what is needed to be done so that you're able to continually move forward and reach the destination. And so Baba, very, very loving. Baba just reminding us that we need to make sure our steps are based on Srimad. And if our steps are based on Srimad, then God's love is definitely there, but also those who see will see God's virtues in action and will come closer to God. And so those blessings of love from God and the family are going to be reaching the soul. And so Baba really, truly inspiring and encouraging us and making sure that we don't get into other stories. Think about it. If there's something beautiful to relate, you saw beautiful things in just 1 minute. And so that's all it takes, a minute. But if there's a whole story of misunderstandings, of quarrels, of conflict and complications, it takes a long time. And so Baba was saying, don't get into those stories, Ram Katha. It'll take you into the Silver Age. It's a story of Rama. It's not the story of Sri Krishna. And so experiencing God's love is a story of Sri Krishna, and getting into other stories and complications brings you from the Golden Age down into the Silver Age. And we don't want that to happen. So just tell Baba, I'm fine, I'm okay. And also just keep singing praise of God and God's love. And so that's what's going to be the important thing. And of course, I'm realizing that 88, and this was actually the last season that we met Baba individually. And as we get to the end of the season in these Murlis, which is just a few more Murlis to go, then we'll hear God's plan for that next period of time. But at that moment, it was just that warning. You have to learn to share time with everyone. And then it's not in minutes that you can count God's love. It's your own depth of love that's going to bring God's love to you also. So let the heart play that beautiful song of God's praise. and you'll feel how God's love is coming back to you and making you victorious on every level. So a very, very loving, very beautiful Murli to remind us how easy and how natural it is to become the conqueror of everything, the conqueror of Maya, the conqueror of the world. What more could we want? So those were the things that stay with me from this particular Murli.
Thank you, gentlemen. Gentlemen, do you want to just talk about Hum So So Hum and Baba saying the riddle of Hum So? How do you understand that so that we can imbibe it better?
It's one of the bhakti expressions that has really stayed very, very strongly the whole period of bhakti. People chant Om, that's a very powerful one, but the other is Hum So So Hum. And Hum So, that which I was, so hum, that which I will be again. And so now I'm a Brahmin, about to become an angel and to become a deity. And can I feel the deity stage now? And Baba's told us many times, and this Murli also, this experience of not just you feeling that Baba's given you a costume of light, but others also seeing you as that subtle angel. And so let me go to Pramdham, the soul learning to travel, going home. And then when I come back down, I stop in a subtle dimension and I take on my costume of light. And all of us have that costume of light waiting for us in the subtle region. Just imagine walking into a closet and there's all of these subtle angelic costumes lined up. And you choose the one which is yours. It's got your name on it. And so you put on that costume of light and you're able to experience meeting Bap Dada in that angelic costume of Brahma Baba. And you stay there with love. So when it's time to come down, you bring that costume of light with you here. And it is as if you're doing all the things you need to do, but you feel light. The soul is shining. It's in a state of awareness. This body doesn't feel heavy, gross matter, but it's now subtle. It's angelic. And you do everything that you need to do, taking on this costume of light. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you will begin to feel in it. And so truly, I, the Brahman soul, am the angelic being. And next step, of course, the angels are the ones who are giving and serving and the messengers of God with God. But beyond that then, yes, we go home in between. And when we come down, we are those deities, those beings who have been filled with God's virtues so that the transformation has taken place and my own highest qualities are being expressed. I'm practicing today. It's the rehearsal time, but there, the rehearsal's over. It's now time for the drama to begin. The curtains have parted and the deities are there on the stage ready. And so how do I look at each one? How do I speak? How do I behave? What is the quality of life that I have? What is the quality of relationships that I have? Baba's making us experiment with all of this today so that those sanskars emerge. You know, people have this concern about the environment. Anyway, the end is coming, so why should we bother with all of these things? whether it's vegan diet or whether it's recycling and taking care of the environment. What I'm doing is developing that sanskar of regard for my own costume, so that I treat this body of mine with respect, regard for all forms of life, and then regard for nature itself. And as I develop this regard, I've created and emerged again that sanskar of respect and regard for everyone and everything. And so Satyug, it'll be there in a natural way. The needle will be on that record and that song is playing, and the song is a song of Satyug. And so that role will begin to emerge. But the preparation, the recording of that record is today. So I've just taken up one aspect of regard, but all the qualities of the deities, spend time visualizing them. And there was this exquisite exchange in which there were lots of beautiful descriptions of Satyug and what you would feel like and how you would behave there. So experiment with that again. And yes, after the deity stage, I know I'll come back through the cycle. I'll experience a silver age. I'll start looking for God and expressing love for God. But again, I will be the one who's searching for God. Baba said beautifully, of course God loves you so much. Would God have searched east and west and north and south looking for you if he didn't love you? And so where did all of you come from? How did God find you all? And you on your own weren't able to find God. So God had to come and intervene. And so that beautiful experience of God finding us and becoming Brahmins again, giving us a new birth so that truly the world of sorrow gets left behind now, not in the future. We're letting go of Kali Yuga now. We're now in Sangam Yuga. So Sangam Yuga is that Brahmin stage and the angelic stage. And the next step, we go home and come down into the golden age. So Hamso, now I'm remembering, yes, that is who I was, but I'm also becoming that again. So past, present, and future get completely clarified and emerged and expressed.
That's so beautiful. Thank you, gentlemen. And gentlemen, I'm just remembering that many years ago, you had mentioned that in times of chaos, we have to become invisible so that if somebody is coming to attack us, we will be invisible and they will not be able to see us. Do you remember that? Do you remember mentioning that?
I do remember, and it's something that's come up in a blessing just last week. And I think Sharon is on the line, but somebody in our Hindi class, one of the old Matajis, came up to the microphone when that blessing was read. And she said that she wants to share a story that Sharona had shared in Madhuban. And she was very eloquent. I've not heard her as eloquent before. And she said that Sharona had related the story of two people traveling in a bus, two sisters, and the bus was stopped by terrorists and they took over. They made everybody come out and they were killing everybody. They were shooting around and most of the people were wounded. Many were killed. And there were a few who were still left, including these two sisters. And by then the police had arrived and they asked them, would you be able to identify the people who did this? And they said, yes, we saw them very clearly. They very quickly brought some suspects and they had them line up. And the sisters were able to identify a couple of them. And the sisters then said to Baba, The sisters then said to the police, sorry, can we ask them a question? And the police said, yes, of course. And they asked the terrorists, how come we were there right in front and you didn't do anything to us? And the terrorists said, we didn't see you. So, real life story. If I'm in my costume of light, you don't see me. I had a very interesting experience this morning, actually. And again, it reminded me of this particular story. But there was light coming in from the window at the back. And the person in front of me, I couldn't see them. And it was a game of light, but the light was so strong that that individual seemed to disappear. I couldn't see them. I knew they were there, but I couldn't see them. And so Baba's light, your light, shining so powerfully, they get blinded, they don't see.
Yeah, so lovely. And gentlemen, I'm reminded also of another story, which was your question answers session with Dadi Gulzar, in which you asked her, well, what difference does one moment make, or one moment of remembrance? Do you remember that one?
No, tell me.
Well, you had asked her that, Baba says just one moment. And she said that when we've eaten some good food, then we remember it, don't we? Like the memory of that taste is there, which is why we keep going back to it. And so once we've had this taste of Baba's remembrance, then it's like we want to taste it again and again.
Right.
Do you want to comment on that?
I think that's absolutely true. And as you asked that question now, there was another thought that came to my mind, and that is one moment of remembrance, and I have to make a decision. And if I have that moment of remembrance, that one decision can shape my life for the future. And if in that moment I don't have God's remembrance and I make my decision on my own with influences from here and there, of course, that can take me in a very different direction. So one moment of remembrance can lift me up there, and lack of remembrance can take me down. So just a moment of remembrance can be extremely powerful.
And maybe briefly, gentlemen, 3 people asked me this question, because in the Murli, Baba said, even though the Father's love is number-wise, it is still number one for all. I mean, you did kind of cover it, but any more depth in that?
Yeah, sure. My experience of God's love is my own. And so if I'm clear and clean, I can feel God's love pouring out and I'm absorbing it within myself. If I'm caught up in some inner struggle, or I'm caught up with waste thoughts about others, whatever else, so the experience that I'm having, even from day to day, is number-wise. But God's love is for all. And so that is number one for everyone. Baba's good wishes just in this Murli. Baba's saying, you can be number one. Baba's encouraging me. Baba's moving me forward and saying, keep flying. And I'm saying, but I'm screwing up my face and my thoughts are all muddled and confused. And I was saying, but you were wandering around, you were lost, you were confused, and I found you, I came to find you. So our experience is number-wise, but our experience is because of our own inner state, not because God is saying, less here, more here.
And then I want to share that in the world, gentlemen, they say it took, well, of course we know it's not 200,000 years, but they say it took 200,000 years to reach 1 billion. And it's taken 200 years to reach 8 billion. So my question to you is, these souls that have come down in the last 200 years, what do they want? What will we be giving to them?
They want liberation, they want peace. So even if they're still going through maybe their copper age experience, they're still not finally at their final Tamopradhan stage where they're ready to say, all I want is God, nothing more. All I want is peace and truth. They're not yet there yet. And we do find that there are still so many countries where people are just caught up in their own comforts and their own lives, and it's okay. If we're in contact with some souls like that, and generally speaking we are, that's okay. Just keep the door of communication open with them so that you're able to stay in touch and they know you're around, and a moment will come when they hit their point of sorrow and they will then say, can you explain something? How come you are so peaceful? How come you've constantly been loving no matter what else has happened? And so that moment has to come for each one, that they're ready to hear something about God or something about the soul. So I think that time is coming very, very soon for a lot of people.
Right, thank you. And this is a little personal question, and please answer it as personally as you can. You are a dilruba child, Sister Jayanti. You have won Baba's heart, but can you tell us what is it like to be totally in love with the Supreme Soul, a soul? What's the feeling for you?
The feeling for me when I surrendered to Baba was absolutely lost in love. And today it's a huge amount of love, but yet that feeling of being lost in love is there from time to time. It's not there continually, because I find myself getting too much involved with emails and meetings and all sorts of things. And I have to learn to let all that carry on down here and I stay up above. But that feeling of being totally lost in love, and like Dadi had said, because I've had that experience, I'm able to recapture it again and again and get that feeling and keep moving forward. But it's that stage when really nothing else matters. The only thing is that you want to spend your life with Baba. You don't want anything else. You don't want physical comforts. It's not an issue. You know, they say that love in a garret is fine, in an attic is fine, it doesn't matter. So it was that sort of feeling that externally, whatever is going on in terms of comforts, that doesn't matter, but also whatever other people are telling you, you should do this, you shouldn't do this, you know in your heart that you're going to do only what Baba wants you to do. And that's not to say that you're disrespectful with everybody else, because you know that they're trying their best, but you're not impacted by it. You don't feel anything about it. You smile at them. Okay, I understand. But your decision is to belong to Baba, and nothing is going to sway you from that. And so in terms of today, when I capture that feeling and re-experience it, what it does to me is to say, well, okay, whatever else is going on, I have to stay just in that experience of God's love and hand over things to Baba so that Baba gets things sorted out here, and whatever is to be will be. And I know that I've done my best, and that's all I can say to Baba. Whatever else needed to happen, well, I did what I could. And so it's a very lovely feeling in which only you and Baba exist. There isn't anything else, no more space in that world, just you and Baba. And yes, Baba wants you to do service, but you do that also only because you know that other souls have the right to come to God and have, like Baba said, you've got the ocean, you've swallowed all of us, we've been given so much, we've swallowed the ocean, and let others have even a little drop of that. And so service, of course, yes, let me be available for that, but God's love is the only thing that's important.
You remind me of these loyal Indian brides that only, are there loving their husband and irrespective of the rest.
But that's any bride, not just Indian bride. But this is why Baba uses this term bride, and he is the bridegroom. And it comes in other traditions also in the Bible. The brides of God, the brides of, then sometimes they use the word Christ, but the brides of God, that really is a universal image. The Sufis, their love for God and the surrender to God because of that love.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move on to some general questions from everyone. So one of the questions is, when Baba has to create the new creation, he creates the subtle region. So how does he do that?
Here's Shiv Baba in Pramdham, and here's Brahma Baba, Dada Lekraj, going along his own way and content and happy, and everything's going well in his world. And Shiv Baba has the thought, and that thought allows him to come, and he knows that things don't start here. Things are going to begin with visions. And so it's not a physical reality. It's a state of consciousness. But Shiv Baba allows that creation to happen. And the first one who's part of that creation is this man. And he has a vision of God. He has a vision of the better world. He has a vision of Hamso, Soham, Vishnu. And this man is now God's instrument. And now still from the subtle region, Shiv Baba is touching many souls here. And they have a vision of Brahma Baba. They have a vision of Krishna. They have a vision of Vishnu. All of these things were going on. And the subtle region is at work, and God comes and takes over this human being and starts to speak, and the whole story begins. But still, there's a lot of work that's still happening from the subtle region, even as the Om Mandali was created. Many were having visions, but in particular then, the trance mediums in Karachi, and Dadi Gulzar seeing Avyakt Brahma and understanding that Shiv Baba came and then explained that this one here is the same one there. This man is to become that angel. So the whole story of establishment is through visions. And then there's the part through Gyan, which we've been through. And Baba emphasizing Gyan and yoga as we hear in the Sakar Murlis. Now, as we hear the Avyakt Murlis, Baba's asking us to be the ones who can give visions to others, but we have to be in that awareness ourselves. And so the more we understand this mechanism of moving into that subtle dimension through our consciousness and our awareness, the faster God's work can happen. Baba's reminder in this Murli that it's time for revelation. And so don't slow down that task. Reveal Baba, but it won't be revelation through words. It'll be through experience, and it'll be through your activity and your consciousness and awareness. So the whole task of establishment, especially at the beginning, and yes, the sustenance that we've had 50 plus years, that was through Avyakt Bapdada coming. So the subtle region was very deeply involved. How come there's this frail woman sitting on the stage alone? And what is that Avyakt subtle power that comes through her and is able to impact not just 25,000 people sitting in front of her, but is so amazing that people all over the world are tuning in, even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning for them. They used to do that in New Zealand. Baba would come in the evening. It was 2 a.m. there. I remember being there at one point, and so we went to bed and got up early, ready, and 2 a.m. we were sitting there watching Baba on screen. So what was this magic that was going on? Even that part is over now, but this next part is waiting to begin. And we are the ones who are going to open the curtains on this next part, that we become so subtle that the subtle region is able to work through us and Baba can be revealed. It's not on a physical level that all this can happen. Just as God's task so far, how did Baba touch intellects and transform them and make them instruments? Every country has its own amazing story about how Baba touched souls and souls became instruments. And I've seen it happen in such an amazing way in so many places.
Yeah, it's true, gentlemen. Thank you. So someone's asking that, so Baba uses subtle region now, and then in heaven, he's in retirement. So how does he conduct himself during bhakti?
Baba says that from the time that the Bhagats start calling out, Baba is very aware of what is going on. And Baba responds to the cry of the Bhagats, the call of the Bhagats. And yes, it's in drama that they have visions or that they have attainment and limited level. But it's actually God pressing the buttons in a sense and making things happen. And so God and drama work together absolutely hand in hand. And so, yes, God sharing something and drama revealing it in a practical way. So they work together, Baba and drama.
Someone's asking that in the early 70s, when the service in London looked bleak, then Sister Jayanti was advised by Dadiji to work on herself and prepare her stage. So how did you do that?
Dadi wrote in a letter, this is August 1969, and I started my period of intense meditation. And every 2 hours, I would ensure that I had 30 minutes of sitting down yoga. And it could be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, it could be 15, sometimes it was 30 minutes at a stretch, but I would make sure that every 2 hours there was 30 minutes of yoga. And I was fortunate that my situation allowed me to do that. But that was my tapasya all the way through till May 1971. And so it was about 1.5 years. And then in 1971, we got the news that the delegation was going to the US and they could stop in London. So from that moment on, things became busy. And they've stayed very busy and got more busy. But that was one thing, the 30 minutes yoga. The second was I kept a chart of soul consciousness. And I would recommend anybody who wants to try to really move forward, keep a chart of that. Every hour, just note down how many minutes you were soul conscious in the last hour. And sometimes it's a shock. You got so busy that it was nothing. You were not doing anything wrong, not even waste thoughts, but you were just busy. But that's also ordinary consciousness. It's not soul consciousness. And so the next hour, I was more aware, more attentive. And so then that level of soul consciousness gradually increases. And so soul consciousness and sitting down yoga were the two things.
Thank you. Someone's asking, does everyone have a light body? That means Lokik people as well?
I don't know about Lokik, but certainly Baba has categorically stated that every Brahmin has a costume of light in the subtle region.
Okay, thank you. Can you explain about the first division? Does that mean only the 8 jewels?
I personally think that the first division would mean the 8 jewels. The 108 would be the next. Yeah.
Any tips you can give to developing visualization so I can see myself in Pramdham?
I don't know that I can give you a tip. I'd say just experiment with it. First, just see yourself as a soul. Can I feel it? And through my inner eye of awareness, see it. It's not a physical seeing, it's a seeing through that inner awareness. And when I can see myself as a soul and feel myself as a soul, can I take another step and say, can I be here and see this and detach myself from this costume? Then let me go to Pramdham, in that world of infinite light, a place where there are no walls, and see myself there. So try it. And the more you experiment with it, the easier it becomes.
Right, Jinvana, I think we'll make this the last question. How do I become Trikaldrshi in every action?
If I'm drinking a cup of tea or a cup of water, whatever it is, at that moment, can I just simply practice being aware of the soul and connected with Baba and refresh the soul while I'm refreshing the body? So when it's simple things like this, get on with it. But when I'm thinking about somebody I'm going to meet, let me think about the past, let me think about the present, but let me also be aware of the future outcome. And so now, how should I behave with this individual so that the future is one of benevolence for all? Or I'm thinking about going somewhere, doing something. So when I'm planning all of these things, let me think, well, what is the history of this situation? Now, what can be the best outcome? And so what do I have to do today? And you'll remember all the things that Baba has told you about. And you'll emerge those ideas and that consciousness. And so you've understood what you've learned from the past. Now you're applying it to the present. And so the future outcome is definitely going to be maybe not what you thought it was going to be, but it's going to be the best possible outcome. So it applies to situations like that. You know, I'm putting on my jacket and putting on my coat because I've looked at the weather outside, And so I've seen rain or shine or heat or cold. And so that's the automatic process of life. And you don't need to spend too much time thinking about, where did I buy this coat? Is it warm enough? No, you can do that very quickly. It's automatic responses that are there. But when it's significant moments, then yes, you have to be very, very aware and very careful. When it's relationships, again, the care that you give to handling all of this will stand you in good stead.
Thank you so much, Sister Jayanti. Always lovely. Your words are becoming like Mahavakya, versions of God. Thank you so much.
Just Baba. Thanks, Runaben. Thank you to everyone for your patience and joining us.
And I just want to say that there is Sister Jayanti's class. It's in Hindi with English translation on the 26th of September, 11:30 a.m. UK time, organized by Leicester. And it's a lovely topic, cleansing the subconscious. So you can get more details of that from the Global House site or the Leicester site. Thank you. We'll have meditation now.
Shanti Brahma Shanti